you are in the trenches all day having these conversations. I think you've had a couple already today. We've got a pretty good sample size of several hundred, if not several thousand. Are there any commonalities that you see among companies that are, you could say, successful in general or with marketing, like whichever way you want to go with this? Like, what are some of the common denominators of success that you see?
Yeah, I always like to look at both sides. In all things are kind of relative in terms of this, right? Meaning, the companies that are successful, a lot of people have this stigma, if you will, and they look at these like 30, 40, 50 million a year companies and what are they doing, right? Like we have this long-term vision, like we all want to have this super success and live this beautiful lifestyle. But to get there, you have to put in the required work, right? And so when we look at our clients and like what are our clients doing that are successful, even outside of our client base, right? Like I know a lot of people in our industry, and what are they doing that's successful? There's a ton of commonalities, right? And a lot of times it starts with at the personal level, even before the business level. It's like I made a lot of notes on this actually, because this is something I'm really passionate about. But one of the number one things that they do is they prioritize things in their life and in their business. And by prioritizing, a lot of guys get so busy in the day to day, and they're going to job sites and they're doing this or they're doing that, and they tend to make excuses for the small things, like making an organic social media post. Well, when you prioritize things and you look and you understand the value of every single thing on that priority list, you have to stop making excuses and saying, I'm too busy to do these things. You have to find the time to do it. Every single person has the same amount of time in a day, and it's up to you to use that accordingly, right? So instead of scrolling on social media for 15 minutes while you're at a customer's house waiting for them to show up or whatever it is, use that 15 minutes to really dive in and be like, here's some really good content that I could post, or at minimum, make a note about it, right? So prioritizing their time, which is personally, just to be transparent, like one of my biggest struggles even as a salesperson, like prioritizing time. I'm always an open book about that. Is one of my biggest struggles. I still think I do I still do okay with it. Being really, really, really consistent in their activities, right? So number one, figuring out what activities actually elicit the result that they're looking for. Right. So a lot of times you'll see companies posting like before and after pictures, and they're running ads and they're putting in all of this effort, which I applaud, but they don't have that strategy. Right. And that's okay. A lot of people don't know what elicits the results, but you have to work with trial and error. You have to figure out what the market wants from you, and then start to create more of that and make that a habit. Right. Make something habitual, right? Like replace an old habit with a new habit, because habits aren't easily undone. And so replacing them is always a lot easier. But when you make things in your life a habit, it's just going to happen, right? And so these are the types of things at like the personal level that I would say that when you adopt these beliefs and these systems, right, into your personal life, that will start to breathe over into your business life and start to make you more successful there. And then the same is true on the business side of things, right? It's making a habit out of posting once a day, right? I always say like a minimum once a day. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but posting is super, super important just for the general exposure, but then having like a strategy. So not posting like before and afters every single day, right? There's a time and a place for them. They do offer value to the market, but truthfully, like there's nothing sexy about a roof, right? So it's like take off a weathered wood and replace it with another weathered wood, right? It's like, okay, one had a little bit of algae on it, one didn't. So that's, you think about a kitchen remodel, it's like, hey, we're gonna remove all these old nasty cabinets and this flooring and this, you get new appliances and you replace it all. It's beautiful when it's done. Like that is attractive. So it weighs a little bit more when people see that it's much flashier. Also, people don't care as much about their roof. Like they just don't, even as important as it is. So you have to find a way to be super, super creative. And so, again, one of the things that a lot of people are doing is having this hyper consistency of figuring out like, what is it that the market really wants from me to be able to engage with me and do business with me. Leveraging the law of attraction is something that we talk a little bit about, right? We want to be attractive to our client base.
Yeah, I was just thinking about. I'm always writing down notes in my little notebook here as you're speaking, and so you mentioned priorities, right? And the fact that you're not the idea that you're not great at it, you're good at it, and you're getting better. Okay. And then you mentioned content and the fact that you have to be testing different things and you have to be out there and continually analyzing what's working to elicit the result that you want. So that's like a life lesson, life, business, whatever it is. You got to be in the game. You got to get the reps in, right? No one's 100% amazing at prioritizing and holding themselves accountable to their priorities, right? We all fall off track. I think that's one of the biggest challenges of a human is like, okay, I have these 24 hours in a day. I've got family, I've got my health and fitness, I've got my business, I've got things I'm involved in the community, friends, hobbies, whatever. How do I live the richest life I can? How do I be the best version of myself to where I can do all these things without burning out so that I have ample energy for the people that need me, right? And so that's a challenge. And so we have to just try, get ourselves in there, prioritize, and then review our day, review our week, and see how we can improve week over week. And same thing with content, right? Like I think so many people are out there afraid to put themselves out there on social media. And hey, I'll raise my hand. I used to keep everything separate. Like I used to have my business silo on social media and then my personal, and they did not intersect. And then a few years ago, after following Gary Vee, one of the big influences in my career, and going all in, it's been transformative because people do business with people, right? So I think people have a lot of hesitation as far as putting themselves out there, but it's the same concept. You just got to put yourself out there. It's not going to be perfect. Your videos are going to be horrible. Your posts are going to be bad, but you've got to see what the market responds to, gather the data, and make adjustments. So you're asking me what I see as the commonalities of success in terms of business, our clients, whatever. It's getting in the game. It's doing some activities, getting some data, watching the game film, improving, and then just continuing to get 1% better every day. And that's it. I'm not perfect on this podcast, neither are you. This is my 60, I think this is our 70th episode right now, somewhere around there. And I feel like I'm still just trying to, figure out the whole interview process, right? But you're never going to be perfect when you start. So you just got to get in the game and you got to get your reps in and improve from there. So that's what I see. That's how I live my life. It's a slight edge. It's a compound effect, whatever you want to call it. I write about it all the time. I wrote about it this morning. It's about, putting yourself out there, showing up every day and improving 1% every day. So I said that a few different ways, a few different times.
Yeah. And that actually leads me to one of the other things that I wrote down here. And to me, actually two things. These two things are the two things that I actually wanted to mention most that actually transformed me. And every person that I know that I've ever talked to that has gone from like 0 to 100 or whatever the case is, right? It's like they are intentional with their time. They're intentional with their mindset, and they believe that they can. Like as silly as that sounds, like believing and knowing that you deserve it, right? Like that's a really big deal. In this, have appreciation and have gratitude, right? Like for life itself and everything that is involved in it. It's going to be messy. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be hard. But believe that you can and believe that you deserve it and put that focus and intention towards the things that you want to bring to fruition into your life.
100%, man. My bracelet right here, believe, is my word of the year, and then limitless. I believe I'm limitless. So those are on my wrist for the entire year, because we all have that self-doubt. We all have that lack of belief in ourselves. I do. Maybe this comes as a surprise to people because I might come across as confident on camera, but still, it's something I struggle with every day. It's a challenge, it's a hurdle to overcome every day, is that belief. But I read about this recently, and I think it was a Craig Groeschel book, Winning the War with Your Mind. I just finished the book this week, and I love Craig Groeschel, one of my mentors from afar. He talks about the fact that something about like our subconscious won't let us achieve to the level, will only let us achieve to a level that we can believe, or something like that, right? So if we don't have that belief, we're going to hold ourselves back whether we realize it or not. So we have to have that belief first. That's so big.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, like putting it in terms of like, how we work with our clients, there are companies that a lot of times is a very similar situation where you'll have a roofing or contracting company that starts up and they hustle their way to, that first level, which is like, call it $2 million, right? You can hustle, you can door knock, you can tap your network, and you can get your way to $2 million without doing really any marketing, right? Just kind of that boots on the ground, just make it happen. You work those long hours, drink a lot of Red Bull, and grind it out. And then kind of get to this point where like, all right, well, I realize I want to grow. I just cannot work any more hours in the day. I don't have any more capacity. I need to create some more leverage beyond myself. And so a lot of times with them, it's like that belief shift of like, okay, I've done these activities to get me here. I know I need to do these other activities to get to this next level. I need to believe that I am the type of person that can do that, right? That it's not just reserved for, success is just reserved for other people that can do that. It's like, I need to internalize that belief that I can do this, even if it's out of my comfort zone, even if it's something I've never done before. I think that's one of the scariest things. I think that's what holds a lot of people back from really investing in themselves. I'm not just talking about money, but like investing in like reading books or training or like really, learning how to do social media marketing or any other skill in their business. Any thoughts there, Alex?
Yeah, man. So like, talking about getting to that first threshold, so many guys and women too, obviously, like we actually, one of my favorite conversations is with women because they tend to have a bit less of a guard. Up and women tend to get like that emotional more than men do right out of the gate. And so like a lot of times I've seen like they're a lot better with social media because they understand like the heartstrings that need to be pulled to get people to engage. But yeah, so like getting to that first threshold, right, of that first couple $1 million, $3 million, $4 million, whatever that is that people are really, really striving to get. A lot of times they get there and they've almost built a bit of a prison for themselves where it's like, I have 5, 6, 7, 8 sales guys there, and they're door knocking, and everything's a little bit chaotic. They haven't really built that foundation and the processes and things like that to support the revenue that they're driving, which is kind of a good position to be in because then you get like the opportunity and you realize like, oh, I really do need a really solid foundation to uphold this business, right? And so then they have to kind of backtrack and put things on pause instead of growing and scaling responsibly. They get to that point and they're like, well, I have to reverse engineer and build my infrastructure first. Where one of the things that I love about what we do is actually take clients, regardless of whether they're at 200,000 a year or 50 million a year, we're building out those systems and processes to actually support and maintain all of the things, all of the revenue that you're going to be driving, right? And so it's like having proper lead handling systems, having proper follow-up and nurturing campaigns, and all of these things that hold all of it together. Like I was saying, was when people get there, they find themselves in this trap of like not having enough time to be able to do this, and they're stuck there. And then by the time they come around to like investing into marketing, they want to just throw their money at it, right? And it's like, I've made a bunch of money, I want to throw my money at it, and I want it to work. And one of our next topics, misconceptions of marketing, which maybe this is a good segue into it, right? But you can't just throw money at your problem and expect it to be fixed. So it's like you have to learn it. Like any successful business has these systems and operations built out inside of their organization. Because as long as you're throwing money at a problem, you're gonna experience what the backside of that looks like, right? That's something that I know I'm really passionate about, and I find myself doing from time to time when I'm really, really busy. It's like, can I just throw money at it? Because it's like it's easy to replace money. It's difficult to replace your time.